Hello, everyone, and welcome to Franz's Real Estate Facts, episode 6. It is now the middle of February, and I am here with Fergal Cullen from Farmers Insurance, and he is going to talk to us about how homeowners can use their insurance policies to protect them during the home selling process. Also, just like as a fun fact, apparently Fergal and I, totally without talking to each other, wore essentially the same shirt. So somebody should comment about who wore it better. Obviously, I think it was me, and I'm sure that Fergal thinks that it was him. So help
Totally.
settle this debate for us. All right. Well, Fergal, thank you so much for being here, and I want to applaud your excellent taste in shirt color.
Likewise.
and, uh, and let's get started. So, you work for Farmers Insurance,
Yep.
and I assume you do property and casualty, and work with homeowners. So, what insurance issues do you commonly see coming up with property insurance, and what can homeowners do to avoid them so they don't damage or hurt a deal in the middle of the process?
Yeah, there's a few like just pop straight into my head. Like a lot. First of all, thanks for having me. Love your shirt. but
Thank you.
so one thing that homeowners should be really aware of is claims. Like over the last 5 years, if they've had claims such as a water claim or maybe if even a tree fell on the roof, something like that, it's
Mm,
going to count as a loss. So if homeowners have two or more losses in that 5 year period, they're at risk of losing their home insurance through that carrier. They will then have to go on the market to search for another carrier, which can be pretty expensive when you count those losses. So it's really important to have a really good agent who will let you know all the pitfalls about home insurance so you can make really good decisions in the event. Oh, is this really a claim? Where's my deductible at? That's really important. If you have like a really low deductible, there's going to be a greater chance of you claiming. Whereas if you put that slightly higher, there's going to be less likely. It's going to be more of a situation where your the, the occurrence will really ruin your life, not just your day, that kind of thing. So issues around that I've seen it come up so often over the last few weeks in particular. Um, Maybe someone's had a couple of water losses. I try to find out insurance through farmers. They'll decline it. I can go on the market and search it. We work with other carriers, so at least we have that backup through our agency, which is really valuable for the customer because it can be yourself, a really stressful period buying a home or even selling it.
right.
So having a good agent who knows all those kind of ways to navigate around that is really important.
Yeah, and definitely, I think if a homeowner does have a home that has had a bunch of claims or a bunch of losses, then you can sort of work with them to help the new buyer get
Hmm.
insurance and say, we know this property has had a number of claims, but we've done our due diligence and this company will insure, and this is going to be the rate. So a
Yeah.
buyer can find out, whoops, I can't afford this house anymore because my
Mhm.
homeowner's insurance is too expensive.
Yeah, and that's where a good relationship with the realtor is vital between the insurance and the seller and the buyer. Because say like the buyer could, if maybe the buyer could put that person, the seller, in touch with their insurance agent as well. They can, because they'll know the property, they'll know the ins and outs, they know what claims history is. Another thing is claims do follow you. So if you've had a claim on your home and then you're going to buy your next home, that's going to be also on your loss history as well. So it's so important to, again, just reiterate having a good agent where you're kind of trying to avoid those small claims, you know.
Right. And so definitely, obviously, um, you don't have to file a claim
Mm,
with your insurance company. So if you have a good relationship with your agent might say, maybe you don't want to make this a loss. Maybe
mm,
you just want to pay out of pocket
yeah,
or have it fixed or something with the money out of escrow so that your house doesn't become unsellable because of too
hmm,
many.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm sure you'll know more than this. The selling of a home with a couple of losses on it is probably going to devalue the home. Um, like the beauty about our agency is JP is the owner. We have a really good service team as well. So all our clients have access to us through email, calls, text, 7 days a week. Not many other agencies have that luxury. So we can really look after, and if something say happened on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, who are you gonna call? like we're there, we're ready. So it's a great benefit to us and to our
Absolutely.
clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, since I do have a relationship with you and I do know kind of how you work, you are very responsive, and that's really important because,
Yeah,
if the pipe is leaking or the roof is
yeah,
leaking and all of your stuff is getting wet, it's like, what do I do? And it's really helpful
yeah,
to have somebody that, you can call who will respond and say, yes, you should file a claim, or you should call a plumber, or this is what you need to
mhm,
do so that you are in the best position.
yeah. Like if you can't cover it yourself, do it. Like they'll just save you that one thing, especially if it's only like a thousand, like $800, $1,000, $1,500. Is it really worth all the hassle to have that one thing? Like it's unfortunate in the industry that it is such a just a two strikes are out kind of thing.
Hmm.
It is tough, and I feel so sorry for people who do have a couple of claims and it find insurance. It's like, yeah, it's pretty sad to go through that with that client.
Yeah, that's really tough.
Mm,
Um, so if a homeowner, so we talked a little bit about filing claims,
mhm,
but I know that there's different types of insurance policies.
yeah,
So a lot, and I know as a realtor, the best thing is to sell a vacant home, right? When
mm,
the home is vacant, the seller is not living there, it makes it that much more appealing to buyers.
yeah,
But are there any insurance implications if a seller decides to say vacate the home before selling it?
mhm, yeah. It's really important. They must tell their agent straight away. Like, you have like about 60 days to have the property vacant, but the sooner you can get onto your agent, let them know, hey, I'm selling my home, I'm going to be living somewhere else. They can help you navigate through that, transfer the policy over to a vacant homeowners policy. So that's really, really important to do because just say that time span went by, you forgot, just slipped your mind, you forgot to tell your agent it's vacated. If something ever happened, that claim process may or may not go through, it'd be very difficult. And it's just added stress you don't want.
Yeah. And really, insurance policies are policies of exclusion, right?
Mhm.
So the insurance company says we will cover everything except these things.
Yeah.
And most of the pages of an insurance policy are the things that they're not going to cover.
Mhm.
And so it's really important to understand that, like, any change, including moving out,
Mhm.
is going to make a difference. And also, an insurance company might say, even if you have a 60-day window, if you know that the home is going to be vacant and you don't disclose that to your insurance policy or your insurance carrier, then even if you're gone for 15 days, if your intent is to vacate the property, they might say, well, that's not covered.
Yeah. Yeah. And having someone like you as well in the process with your background is really felt really helpful. But
Right, exactly, because I will either think about these things or talk about
yeah,
these things
yeah,
or say, I
totally.
don't want to think about that. Um,
But it's like every
So
situation is kind of different as well, you know. So we can kind of give examples, but it goes a lot of it case by case as well. So
absolutely. I think that's very case by case, which is why it's important to communicate and say, this
mhm,
is I know, and this is what I would like to learn about.
yeah,
Um, so the other question that I have is, do homeowners have any type of liability having buyers come to their home and just look at their home? So let's say you've got really nice, really big, expensive house. I actually remember I had a house or I had a listing where the threshold kind of like fell off and it was a step. And literally everybody who walked into the house tripped on that step,
yeah,
right? Everybody tripped and tripped on that step, and somebody could trip and fall. So let's say that somebody walks into this house, trips and falls on this step. Like, does the homeowner have any liability from an insurance perspective,
yeah,
or is it just the buyer's problem?
yeah. Like there's ways to mitigate that stuff, especially with a good realtor as well, like yourself. You can identify maybe hazards around the home. So before you go into the home, as a really good realtor, you can say, "Hey, look, there's a step here, really careful." But you know yourself, like a really good attorney is gonna chase where the money is, right? So the homeowners at the end of the day will, yeah, they need that insurance to protect them. So if something did happen, that's where the money's gonna be, right? So um that attorney will chase the homeowner, whatever costs. If the costs, here's the scary thing as well. If it's a really bad accident, like that home behind you there, nice fancy home. Like someone walking in there, maybe if they fell, broke their leg, um, if their homeowner's policy doesn't cover it, then you're getting into, wow, are you, what's going to happen now with the sale of home? What's going to happen with your assets? All that kind of stuff. To counteract that, there is a really great policy you can get through, like an umbrella policy.
Mm.
So a lot of people like will have an umbrella policy to protect them if something happened on their home, on their premises, or even in a car accident. If those coverages were exhausted, then the umbrella policy will kick in. Most people will have like $1 million umbrella, so it's like that safety net. If that accident occurred on that property, well, that and the homeowner's policy was exhausted, then you have then that $1 million safety net for you to kick in.
And will umbrella policy do so? How does an umbrella policy work? Is it a policy that comes in if it's covered under your policy and the claim exceeds the policy limit? Is that
Yeah,
basically what it is?
yeah. So like on a home insurance policy, you have to have like a minimum of 300,000 on your liability. So we get that. And on your cars, you'll have say minimum for bodily injury 250,000 per person, up to 500,000 for the occurrence. Um, with the umbrella as well, like on your auto policy, if you have, say, here's a good example. So a family was driving home. So it was the father, the mother, and then the son was in the back seat. So unfortunately, they got T-boned by another car. Their car flipped over, and it's really sad. The father died. The son went to hospital, have spinal surgery. They had like an umbrella policy. So when you're claiming against someone who's underinsured, your policy then will kick into place. But if you don't have enough coverages on that, they get exhausted, then the umbrella is going to come into play. So that gave them like that $1 million safety net, which was, yourself, like costs of surgery, funeral expenses, all that kind of stuff adds up. So that's a really good example of a umbrella. And when we put that into context, because we're talking about homeowners, So say, for example, on that lawn there behind you, we had a case where the gentleman was cutting the grass. He left the rake on the grass. The neighbor's kid kicked their ball into the garden. Kid ran in to um, retrieve the ball, stood on the rake, and then ended up having like a lot of surgery done.
Oh,
And so, yeah, so that umbrella policy kicked in to save that gentleman from maybe could lose the home, savings, everything, you know?
right. Well, umbrella policies seem like they're very important and helpful in protecting homeowners.
Yeah.
And, most of the time, I mean, sometimes kids run onto the lawn, but
Mm-hmm.
when you're actually inviting buyers into
Yeah.
your home to look at your home, then that really is where the liability comes
Yeah.
in. That's really when you're thinking about selling a home and you're going to be inviting buyers into your home, then that really is the time to start thinking about, do I have enough coverage?
Yeah.
Do I have liabilities? And what sort of things do I need covered?
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know if umbrella policies are immediately available or if there's like a grace period, but those are definitely some things that sellers need to think about in terms of like how much time they take before
Yeah.
selling the home and what do they need to do to prepare, right?
Yeah. So like that, it's great because you bring all this up because that's where the relationship with the insurance agent comes into place. So the moment they're thinking about selling, just contact your insurance agent. They can prepare you for all any eventuality that could occur, like someone walking onto the property, tripping over, like that step you mentioned. Maybe I don't know, maybe they slip on the floor if there's some kind of spillage or anything like that. So talk to the agent. They can prepare the policy if there's any extra coverages needed. So you have all your bases covered.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it's really important, particularly for homeowners who have higher end houses or more
Mm-hmm.
expensive houses, or really, I mean, really anything that makes somebody think you have money, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you walk into a house and you see a Tesla, a BMW, and a Mercedes in the driveway, even
Mm-hmm.
though maybe the house doesn't look nice, but it's like, okay, you've got these three really expensive cars. This person might have money. That
Mm-hmm.
means you're maybe a target, or if you have
Yeah.
expensive jewelry or whatever. So these are really things that homeowners need to think about. And, the benefit of working with me is that I will do all of that thinking for you because
Yeah.
I actually, this is my industry, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll really think about these things. I'll bring in the experts. As I said, as I've said multiple times, I have a team of experts that I work with who can really advise me on what is their own personal role in the transaction so that you're protected and you really do protect yourself when you're going through this transaction because homes are really expensive. It's a really complicated transaction. And as Fergal, you pointed out, and all of my other guests have pointed out, there are so many pieces to think about when selling a home. And what are your liabilities? What do you need to think about? What do you need to do
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
doing that? And frankly, I will tell you the vast majority of homeowners underplan. So the
Yeah.
vast majority of homeowners will just say, okay, I'm ready to sell my house now. And they don't think about things like what is their insurance liability? Is the home vacant? Do I need to get it's a clue report, comprehensive loss underwriting exchange
Yeah.
report, so that all of these companies understand, this is what these were the claims, understanding that claims follow you, understanding all of these aspects. And then that also strategically goes into who is the ideal buyer for your property.
Exactly. Yeah. It,
Um,
it is a lot. Like, preparation's always the best, right? Get all your ducks in a row, and and having experts like yourself, it's makes the whole process a lot easier.
Absolutely. And I mean, And again, you're in the insurance industry, so you understand this. It's not so much that something will happen, and a
Mhm.
lot of times nothing does happen. It's
Yeah,
really a question of if and when something happens, be prepared, because when you're not
exactly.
prepared, it's incredibly difficult to just like
A
find the
yeah, exactly. And a good way to look at it as well is like if it's if it's a small cost to get
hmm
this extra coverage, think about it like that, what you just said, like, all right, if it doesn't happen, you at least you had that in place. But if something did happen, okay, maybe that extra $50 or something, I don't know. Maybe it seemed like a mistake at the time, but that could save you 50,000 or $500,000 in a year's time. So you got to think of a change your mindset a little bit around insurance and just how high, like castles, for example. The higher the castle walls are, more protection. So the stronger they are as well, like reinforcement. Think of insurance maybe like that as well.
Absolutely. And really, what the role that insurance plays is it's basically you paying to make sure that somebody pays for you later on if
Yeah.
you need to pay money.
Hmm.
So that's really important. It's really helpful for people to think about that. And you really do provide a lot of value, and you know a lot about the insurance industry and what people sort of should be thinking about in a lot of different contexts.
Yeah.
So I really want to thank you so much for coming and talking to us and letting us know a little bit about what homeowners and home sellers need to think about in terms of insurance before they put their homes on the market. And once again, quick reminder in the comments, say who you thought wore burgundy shirt better. Uh, of course, I think it's me. Um, and it'll get a little bit of discussion going, and also just watch the video and really learn something. Hopefully this was a useful experience, and if you need anything insurance related, Fergal, what is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So my phone number is 619-573-8793. And my email address is Fergal, that's spelled Fergal dot O'Hayes, Ohayes at farmersagency.com. Either of them ways, you can call or text or email. So
Awesome, that's great. Well, I will include that in the chat, or
perfect.
not in the chat. I will include that in the comments so that people are able to get a hold of you.
Yep.
And I want to thank you so much for your time. And next week, I will actually be dark, but I will be posting a really, really awesome interview that I did with a really, really awesome person, Thomas Mitchell. He is the recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant in 2020, or a recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant in 2020, and he has some really interesting insights about about real estate, how people can protect and transfer their wealth across generations, and certain legal systems that were in place that caused certain people to lose their intergenerational real estate wealth. So tune in, or not really tune in, but I will be posting the video next week, and you'll be able to see it and watch it. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. So thank you, everybody. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Frantz.
Bye.